My guest today is Ewan Downie from Premier Gold. Ewan Downie is someone that I've known for a long time. I've been following Premier Gold for years. They're a sponsor of my website. I'm very excited to have Ewan on. Thanks for joining us, Ewan.
Thanks for having me on again, Alan.
Hey, no problem. We've got, I know you got another meeting coming up, Ewan, so we're going to try to wrap this into 20 minutes, so we'll get right to it. I'm going to tell you the genesis of the show, Ewan. I started the CEO Roundtables a couple weeks ago, not long after I became a president and CEO for the first time myself.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Ewan. And I'm really enjoying the opportunity so far with LSET Energy. I realized that, for a long time, you and I've been sort of watching companies and talking about them and, commenting on how their story is doing. Now I'm getting involved again with the building of a company, which is quite exciting. And with these CEO roundtables, I think I've found a great way to merge my Allen Berry Reports work and and the work I'm doing to try and get the word out about LSET in front of investors. And with the guests, I think it also works good because you get to come on and talk to my audience, and the audience gets a lot of great content this way. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's I think you find it interesting running a company. It's got a lot of ups and downs.
You got that right, Ewan. And so let's get on to Premier. The reason I wanted you on, first of all, Ewan, it's been about almost a year to the date that we had a pretty timely interview this time last year. Not long after that interview, the price of gold bottomed after a multiple year bear market. We started out the year, the first 9 months of the year, we had an extremely good price of gold. So I'm hoping that this is a precursor of another good run in gold, Ewan.
Yeah, I sure hope so too. It's been under some considerable pressure after what I think the consensus of almost everybody out there was a change at the U.S. if it involved a Trump presidency, that we would see new highs in gold and a good market for our sector and similar commodities. And I think we've seen other commodities run, but the surprising part, I think, to almost everybody out there is how gold's reacted to it. And today we're down another $14, and I keep thinking, this got to be a bottom. Like the world issues are not fixed, and Trump is not going to fix them in a day. So I'm not sure what really to say about gold.
Well, and Ewan, I think the long-term argument is still precise. It's just short-term. We've had kind of a fall off here, but those fundamental reasons are not going away with Trump. In fact, they're going to amplify. He's planning on doing trickle-down economics on steroids. That's going to drive the debt through the roof, and they're not going to be able to raise interest rates very much in the future. Why gold has been pushed down pretty aggressively is, for some strange reason, as Trump got in, it looked like the market in the U.S. dollar just exploded. Now, when a dollar trades like a junior mining stock, Ewan, that the other that is going to roll over pretty quickly. And so I'm optimistic that this timing is going to be very similar to last year, Ewan. We've got oversold gold due to the overbought US dollar. That is not fundamentally supported, and I think we're going to have a start of a good gold run here in the not too distant future. The Ewan Downie effect.
I'm with you there. I actually thought yesterday was going to be a good bottoming effect, and I see today we've got another dent to the price. So it's I'm thinking we're pretty close to where it's got to bottom out and start heading back up the other way.
You got it. And now, okay, so let's talk about, since the last time I've talked to you, Ewan, you've had a couple news releases out. One was on the McCoy Cove drilling. And so I'm going to let the audience know that as we're talking about this, you and I'm going on to your news release, and in your news release, there's a very nice diagram there of the Cove Pit, and it gives people a better understanding of what you're trying to do underneath that pit. So why don't we start with that one, and then we'll get into the Hard Rock news.
Yeah, well, McCoy Cove, we're drilling off. There was a known zone that we had a resource we published in 2013 of around 400,000 ounces at 10 grams. And that was after owning the project for a year. It was a discovery of a high-grade zone outside of the historic open pit. We followed that up in 14 and 15. We discovered another zone that we call the 2201 zone. And this year we discovered between the 2201 and the Helen Zone deposit, we found what we call the gap zone that I think is returning some of the best gold intercepts out of any exploration program going in North America right now. So it's been a wildly successful few years where we believe we've made a huge change to the deposit since that 2013 resource release. And at the end of this year's drill program, we'll be putting all the data together, and in Q1 we expect to release a new 43101 resource for the McCoy Cove property that will, I'm going to say, have a very material change in that 400,000 ounce resource, and I believe the grade is holding up really well. So it's
you can see that in some of these highlight holes, 20 grams of gold and 7 grams of silver over 12 meters, 27 grams of gold over 6.9. Lots of good juicy gold in there, Ewan?
Yeah, and we continue to step out and see the same mineralized system, so it is open for expansion, and we're pretty excited by what we're drilling off.
It looks like there's a horizon there of these mineralized pods that are they continuing, Ewan? It's seems to be at a certain level there. You hit at about, what is that, 500 meter, just below the pit, and then you go down
below the pit, and it heads up towards surface as we move to the northwest.
Okay.
It is an anticline, a crest of an anticline. It's pretty much the identical. It's on the same anticline that they mined the nearly 3 million ounces out of the pit and 110 million ounces of silver. But it's in the deeper limestone rock unit, so it's a similar. I would say the gold was in place in a similar way, but these limestone units host Carlin-style deposits rather than disseminated polymetallic sulfides like the pit was, and very similar to, I'd say, what Barrick and Newmont are mining at Turquoise Ridge below their pit. And we believe this is a very similar Carlin-style deposit, pretty continuous along the anticline, flat-lying lenses. We did cut off the Helen Zone, essentially have cut it off to the northwest, but we have now projected a potential fault offset that we're drilling, and if that carries a potential for another kilometer of strike length to this zone exists.
And that continues to go towards the surface, right, when you go in that direction?
Yeah, gradually. So it won't come to surface, but it tends to be moving up as we move to the northwest. And yeah, we believe we're drilling off a multi-million ounce high-grade deposit in downtown Battle Mountain, Nevada. So
that's a good place to be. Now, Ewan, what is the goal with this project?
Well, I think there's a lot of recently we put the South Arturo mine into production with Barrick, which was our first operation. Our second operation we acquired was the Yamana's Mercedes mine, which we now hold 100%. So we've got the two operating mines, and I think the market has had a lot of focus on what's going on at our hard rock deposit in Ontario. However, our company views that McCoy Cove will be the company's number 3 operation. We're putting out this resource in Q1 of next year. That resource will be used for a preliminary economic assessment that we expect to complete near mid-year. We have permits to start underground development. So all in all, we expect that sometime in 2017 we will start collaring the portal and going underground.
Wow, yeah, it does sound like it's further advanced than Hard Rock.
Yeah, we do have the permit for the underground program. So that Hard Rock, we're submitting our final EA next year. So we're still waiting on getting the full permitting process done. So in terms of development, we view McCoy Cove being the third operation in our portfolio, and I know the market doesn't treat it that way, but that's the way we're working it. And I think next year, as New Resources PA comes out, this project should gain momentum and be seen as one of the premier, to use the pun, the premier North American deposits to be built.
Don't worry, Ewan. I use that premier slip there all the time, and I do like the sounds of that, Ewan. So let's get into a little bit about the news. So that gives us a good rundown on, and I'm really excited. I love that high grade, Ewan. So and I also John Kaiser and I have talked a lot lately about. He talks a lot about projects that are having a new look, like you've done here, going underneath the pit and taking a look for high grade. And I'm also of the opinion that we're coming into a exploration renaissance. And so you've got a couple of really nice things happening here, and I think we need to find a lot more gold. And you've got, an exciting high grade deposit here in a time when I think, the exploration success is going to start to get a lot more tension in the market.
Yep.
So I love that project. And let's move on now. We'll go to chat about there was two things I wanted to talk to you a bit about on the news. One was you guys collectively put out the feasibility study, but then the Premier also put out an augmented details of the Hard Rock economics, because it sounds to me like the impact is different for the two companies. So why don't we talk about that and maybe shine some light on it for us, Ewan?
Okay. Well, the Greenstone feasibility study was a feasibility study completed as per the partnership. We own Greenstone 50%. Centerra owns Greenstone 50%. Greenstone now holds what was our Hard Rock deposit in our TransCanada property. So we've drilled it off. We've got 4.65 million ounces of reserves now in pit. Another plus 4 million ounces in resources immediately down plunge of the pit, but that wasn't factored into the economics. But the feasibility study released by Greenstone was as if Greenstone was a standalone company, like it was a premier and that they were going to build that mine. How does the economics look? The second release, the economics to premier, takes into account the fact that Greenstone isn't a tax-paying entity. It flows its inputs up to the partners. And when we brought in the partnership, we spent money buying the properties, working the property over the years. We have some significant tax pools to put towards an operation at Hard Rock that we solidified when we made the joint venture. So we get to apply those tax pools against our after-tax economics when we look at it as a premier case. How does the economics look to premier? Furthermore, the next 140 million in expenditures on the project, or 135 now, roughly, are to the account of Centerra. So Premier is still carried until another 135 or 40 is spent on the project, and then Premier puts in money. And the feasibility study that was completed by Greenstone didn't contemplate that Centerra is putting in the money, Premier isn't. So that and the taxes made the economics significantly different.
Yeah, I noticed that. It went from a pre-tax IRR of 21.1% to an after-tax IRR of 17.5%, where you were at 14.3 IRR with the let's call it the greenstone fees compared to when it or pre or it was fees, right? Yeah, fees compared to how it affects Premier Gold's 50% interest.
Yeah, so it goes to from just over 14 after tax to Greenstone to well over 17 to Premier, and that's a pretty significant difference.
Extremely, yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah, actually, you and I usually follow you guys like a hawk, and I missed that second news release, and I don't know why. I think I watch. Usually, it comes out on the news wire, and I pick up all your news releases, but I only saw the first one. So I'm glad we had this chat today because that's quite a significant difference there.
Yeah, not a lot of people pick up on that or pick up on that as, you know, the project is advancing. We are working towards getting permits so that we have the ability to develop it. We submit our final EA next year, so we're not expecting permits till at the earliest sometime in 2018, where we continue to work through getting the so-called social license with the local communities and the local First Nation groups. So we look working through IBAs, etc. And then in the meantime, we'll also be talking to various financing groups because to build that project, we're going to need some financing, debt financing from banks to support it. And yeah, it's a big, you know, there are not many 9 million ounce deposits sitting on the highway in Canada, so it's a big, good project.
You got that right. Now, so that's for sure. Not a lot of those sitting around, Ewan?
Yeah, and then we, you know, but still, that's, you know, in Premier's eyes, that's our number. We've got the two producing mines. We've got McCoy Cove, and then the next phase of our growth later, you know, sort of expect to be sort of 2020, 2021 would be hopefully this asset coming online.
Now, Ewan, what gold price did you guys use in that feasibility study? I let the audience know here.
We used 1250 US, so at release, gold was above 1250, and since the release of that feasibility study a couple of weeks ago, we've lost here $75.
But you know, Ewan, that has always been an odd way to look at projects for me because you know this is a feasibility that estimates into the future what's going to happen. So you know, for me, I'm looking and I like the fundamentals of the next 5 to 10 years a lot. I see that we're going into a long-term period of declines in production, and I think that that's going to be very bullish for the price of gold. And so I'm expecting much better than 14, 1500 by the time, at least 1400 by the time you guys are producing here. So I think it's kind of a glass half empty to just look at something like this from the today price of gold or the 1250 number or even today. When you're looking at something that really those feasibility numbers aren't going to be tested for a few years into the future.
Yeah.
So, I know where you are as a company. You have to use a conservative number and everything like that, but it still is a project that you're projecting out to be in production, likely when gold prices are a lot higher.
Yeah, I guess we all hope that. It's, that I think the general consensus or what we used to arrive at that 1250 prior to publishing or to completing the feasibility took consensus pricing through the various brokerages through North America, and the general consensus for long-term pricing at the time is like $1,300. So we used 1250. The last week and a half has been a bit rough on the market, but the next week and a half we could see it turn just as quickly.
Exactly.
In this volatile market.
That's why you got to rationalize these things out a little further than in front of your nose, as far as I'm concerned with these projects. But that's the problem with the market sometimes, Ewan, is that they don't look beyond their nose. They look to what's happening, immediately in front of them. And earlier I mentioned that I think we're going into an exploration renaissance, and I believe prices are going to go a lot higher. But you still have. I don't think it's going to be like when we went from 2001 to 2011, when practically anything with gold in its name moved up. I think that in the future, what you need to do is be strategic, to think intelligently, because I think in this next bull market, that for gold, that we're going to have to be better stock pickers and more selective at finding quality. And getting into that conversation, Ewan, I want to talk to you a little bit about, before you have to go here, about an opportunity that I see that's tremendous for a company like a Premier Gold, which is the hollowing out of the mid-tier space in the gold during the last bull market. It's left very few. And how do you feel about that? Do you see that trend as well, Ewan? And do you think that that's something is in your sights?
Hard to say on that one. I think I'll just not comment on that
one. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't want to put you into any difficult situations there, Ewan. You know me. I'm not trying to gotcha anybody, but and I know it's a forward-looking statement as well. And that puts Premier in a bit of a challenging spot. But from my observation, it's pretty clear that we hollowed out the mid-tier space in the last go around, and there's a lot of projects out there that are available. You have benefited from that with majors even now divesting, and that's a pretty exciting situation, Ewan.
Yeah, I think I've always been somebody who's, well, of course now with production, we always want the gold price to be sky high, but we're always on the lookout for the next great project, and it's easier to make a deal when the market's not as hot than when you have a hot market. When the gold's skyrocketing, stocks are going crazy, everybody can raise money, the price of assets goes through the roof. So it's in these more difficult times that you typically, we like to do deals. When we just did a deal with Kinross and another deal with Goldcorp to acquire two, we hope will be future deposits for our company. The Goldcorp one, Alto Cristina in Mexico, they'd spent millions on, made a discovery of, we think, a very significant discovery. We're following it up right now, but the upfront payment was $1.5 million, and I don't think the deal would have been that way if the gold price was $1,600-$1,700 and everybody had money. They could have got multiples of that, in my opinion. So it's a good time for companies to be building their portfolios and getting set for the next wave, because in our sector, as everybody knows, we have ups and downs on a regular basis, and you have to be prepared for the ups.
Well, one of the things that I'm always trying to do with this show is give investors insights from insiders' perspective. And what point you just made there as a leader of a gold company is also very important for investors out there. If you want to buy on the low, you got to buy when the market's selling on the low. And that environment where you find it's easier to negotiate deals, it's also easier and cheaper for investors to find that gold in the ground as well. So I think you've left us on a real good note there, Ewan. Why don't we wrap it up, because you got to get to your next meeting.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Alan.
Thanks, Ewan. And I'll let you know before you go that I'm working towards these CEO roundtables ultimately culminating in the next 4 or 5 months in a CEO summit, where I'm going to work on a conference online. Some can be live, some can be online, and people can enjoy it from the comfort of right in front of their own computers, or come to the conference. So I'll keep you informed on that as well.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Ewan. Have a great day. I'm going to wrap things up. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Well, there you go, folks. Ewan Downie he runs Premier Gold. I think they have one of the most exciting growth stories in the gold space. They have an enviable portfolio of projects from exploration through to production in Nevada, Ontario, and in Mexico. And Ewan's a very sharp guy and someone you want to follow. Go check out Premier Gold. PG is their symbol on the Toronto Exchange. And now I'm going to wrap things up by also saying thank you to the rest of my sponsors who make my work possible. All Set Energy, ION on the Venture Exchange, where I'm the president and CEO, is a lithium focused company with projects down in Mexico. We just had some news out earlier today, and I invite you to go check out the website at alsetenergy.ca. Another sponsor is Nevada Exploration. NGE is their symbol on the Venture Exchange. They're a gold focused company in Nevada. They're using a unique gold exploration method to explore in the underexplored parts of Nevada. And these underexplored parts are that way because they're covered with sand, but the rocks are the same. So there's a lot of potential in Nevada, and these guys are trying to unlock that. You can check them out at nevadaexploration.com. NGE is their symbol. I've already mentioned Premier Gold with the chat with Ewan today. PG is their symbol on the Toronto Exchange, and they can be found at premiergoldmines.com. Sirius Resources, SOI on the Venture, is a gold-focused company. They're drilling the high-grade gold target at the Chichu Gold Project in Quebec, which is located next door to the Goldcorp's Eleanor mine. And you can visit their website at sirios.com. They just had news out the other day, and they had a whole slew of drill hole results. I've had a chance to talk to Dominique, and we are organizing a CEO roundtable for Monday or Tuesday of next week. So stay tuned for that, because he's got a lot to talk about in those drill results and the work that they're doing and what's pending as well. So stay tuned for that show. Tarku Resources is another sponsor. Their symbol is TKU on the Venture Exchange. They're a grassroots gold exploration company in Quebec that's next door to an old mine and not far from a new road that's been built to open up the new gold mine in Quebec, the first gold mine in Quebec, that's run by Stornoway. So you can check out Tarku at tarkuresources.com. Tudor Gold, TUD on the Venture Exchange, is a gold exploration company and one of the sponsors. They have a strong portfolio of projects right in the heart of the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. Company was founded by Walter Storm, who also founded Osisko. And you can learn more about them at Tudor-Gold, that's TUDOR-gold.com. And I recently did the first CEO roundtable was with Ray Marks from Tudor Gold. So just scroll down on the website and you'll find that. West Red Lake Gold Mines trades on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Their symbol's RLG. They've got a project near Red Lake. We've partnered up with Goldcorp. West Red Lake owns 60%. Goldcorp owns 40%. They've got a very exciting target there called the Hinge Zone, and they've drilled into that Hinge Zone, and now we await drill results. So stay tuned for those results from West Red Lake Gold, excuse me. And last but not least is Wolfden Resources, WLF on the Venture Exchange. They're base metal focused, and they have a discovery of high-grade nickel, copper, and cobalt near Snow Lake, Manitoba, which is in the heart of a very well-known base metal camp in Manitoba. You can visit them at wolfdenresources.com. So that's all my sponsors, and I just again want to say thank you to my guest Ewan Downie. Thank you to my sponsors, and most of all, thank you to you, the viewers. You make this show worth doing, and thank you for tuning in. And you have a wonderful day. You have a wonderful day. You have a wonderful day. You have a wonderful day.